This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans, so meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed Podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Gayle Rogers from the Atomic Agency. Thank you so much for joining me today, Gayle.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself? You can say a fun fact if you'd like, or you don't have to. That's fine. And then a little bit about your work and how you kind of got to this point in your career, what inspired you to create the Atomic Agency, all that jazz.
Ooh, there's a lot.
That's a lot. It's okay. Some people do this. This is like the 10-minute question. It doesn't matter. If it's all boring, you put it in there.
Settle in, get a blanket and a pillow. Okay, so I started off my agency career in early 2000 and started Big Box Agency, J. Walter Thompson, which is now no longer J. Walter Thompson, sadly. And started working on Ford's ad account. That was my first job out of college in Detroit, Michigan, which was an experience in and of itself. And then I bounced around to different agencies, different locations, as people often do in the marketing world, and spent a large amount of my career in automotive. And then around 2007, I worked primarily on the account side. So my job was client interfacing, presentations, all that kind of fun stuff. And then in 2007, I really started to realize that the future of our business was going to be much more on the digital side of things. And so I took a job working for a company out of San Francisco that built websites and did SEO and paid search. So I could learn and figure it out. I mean, I just sort of cannonballed the deep end of it and went to go figure all that stuff out. So we started reverse engineering these things, figuring out the digital marketing piece. And that kind of was the second half of, my career. It was a big turning point for me personally. I worked at a couple of local agencies here in Birmingham, Alabama, and really helped them to develop either a managed services. So the first company was a website development company, and I helped them to build out a managed services team and products and all that piece. And then I left that agency and went to another one that was just a traditional marketing agency and built an entire digital team that was almost twice the size of the original agency I started working with. So I started working with a 25-person agency. And when I left, there were 110 people, and I think 40 or 50 of them were on the digital team. So at that point, I realized that I didn't want to build an agency for someone else. I wanted to build one for myself. And
You have the skills to know that you can do it.
Hubris, maybe. I'd say anytime someone starts a business, I tell them it's a roller coaster of uninformed optimism and then informed pessimism. So you're like, this is going to be great. And then you realize this is not as great as I thought it was going to be, but what this is, the next thing is going to be really cool. And so there's path you go on. So anyways, I started Atomic in February of 2020. Again, a lot of optimism, uninformed optimism, and March was pessimism. You're like, well, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like not the greatest time. How would you know though?
It turned out to be the right time. You know what I mean? It's sort of that when you look back in history and you're like, if you hadn't made mistakes or choices when you made them, then could you be the person that you are today?
Mhm.
And could you have the same life experience? I mean, you can't learn to appreciate the things that you have if you've never known the other side of it.
Yeah, no, I really resonate with that.
Yeah. So I like telling the story, and the book's up there. I read the book Atomic Habits in 2018 or 2019, and it really just, there was so much about it that stuck with me. I just love the book, and I love the concept of it. But when I was developing the concept of Atomic, I wanted us to do the small things that made a big difference. So I really didn't want to focus on, just trying to build big campaigns for the sake of trying to win an award. It wasn't about us. It was about how do we help our customers honestly be the best version of themselves, right? We want their companies to be what they always dreamed it would be. That uninformed optimism. We want to see that.
Yeah. Great. That's a
So
good outlook to have.
Yeah, we stole from James Clear. We named it Atomic. And that's what it is today. So, so the last two things on that are, we started off as a traditional digital agency, right? Websites, SEO, paid search, all that kind of fun stuff. And those things are great and I love them. However, what I realized is I wanted better outcomes for my clients.
Mhm.
And really I wanted them for myself too. I'm not going to say it's just for them. I'm not all that altruistic. Sometimes I'm really selfish. And so we sat there and looked at what we were doing. And what we're essentially doing is we're creating content, and we're creating ads, and we're creating social posts, and we're creating websites in the hope that someone's going to engage with those things and then call us or then email so that we can talk to them, right? All of this is in hopes that we'll have a conversation. Well, what if we just start with the conversation? Just like what we're doing today. Why not just start with the end in mind? So if we go into it and we're like, well, we want to talk to people and we want to learn about people and we do it from an earnest place, then what we end up having is we end up creating the relationships that we want, and the marketing can be a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
So in this case, Shannon, I hope that we end up having
That would be so great.
a connection and a relationship, right? And then we can promote this, and then that's all the byproduct of it. But what we really want to do.
Yeah, no, that's what the podcast is for necessarily. We don't know if we're getting, there you go. The best that we get out of, the best and I guess the least is just making a friend, which is really nice. And that's, there's never a negative to making a friend and knowing about someone, but it's also like one more person knows about us. And, whether they want to ever use our service, that's fine. But, it's just nice to talk to people and network and get to know people and know their stories. And it's just, I think I love a human perspective, like a human first perspective in owning an agency or doing any kind of agency work. I think is so important because no one wants to work with an agency that's money first.
Well, and as humans, we need this, right? We require this social interaction for just the basics of being healthy people. These things are good for us. And being able to create that, I think is a really good thing. I know the more people I talk to in a day, the better I feel at the end of the day, and the happier that I feel. If I'm just staring at my computer all day, typically not always my best.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I resonate so much with the you don't know how good the ups are if you don't have the downs. I had my first mundane dream the other day after having nightmares my whole life, and I was so happy. It was so mundane. There's nothing happened in the dream. It was the most basic thing ever. I think it was like eating potato salad with my sister, and I woke up crying, so happy because I was like, oh my God, it's not a dream about all my teeth falling out. Oh my God, it's not a dream about a shark coming through my wall. Oh my God, it's just basic dream.
By the way, the whole thing that you like, the creativity of the teeth falling out or a shark coming through your wall is like a regular night for you. That's a whole other interesting conversation.
No, yeah, that's my dreams are interesting, but they're all bad. they're all frightening. But I never would have been able to be so grateful for the regular mundane dream that most people have if I didn't have all the bad dreams. And,
When I don't know if you did this or not, but have you ever been in a dream, and maybe not you, but I've had dreams in the past where like I woke up and I'm like, oh, maybe if I go back to sleep right now, I can get back in that dream. Like I can feel that again. And sometimes you get to, like, every once in a while you get to get back into it.
I wish I went back in the potato salad dream. My alarm woke me up from that. It was a great dream. It was so good. I don't even like potato salad. It was really good in the dream. And it had weird things in it, like Doritos. That shouldn't be in potato salad.
I'm not going to say I don't want credit for this, but when you do write a book, it needs to be called The Potato Salad Dream.
Oh my God, that's really good, actually. Thank you. I've been thinking about it, and I don't have the time.
That's
but
right.
Thank you also for the Atomic Habits recommendation, because again, books, I do love getting book recommendations.
I'll give you 10 of them before we leave today.
Thank
But that's such a fantastic book for anybody at any place. And what I think is really interesting too about books, and I was thinking about this recently, is that I like reading about, I'm a big soccer fan, and I like reading about like soccer history books or history in general, and having business takeaways come from that. They weren't necessarily meant to be business books, but they give you ideas based on that. And I think that's really kind of fascinating about reading, or in my case, I listen to books.
I love hearing people get business or marketing advice from outside of the marketing profession. It brings a great question. I never get to ask this one. I always have it in the back of my head, but it usually just never, it worked out perfectly. What is some of the best advice you've received from a non-marketing professional about marketing?
Okay, well, number one, I have this to say. I literally recorded a video about this yesterday. We're all in marketing. I'd reached out to someone recently that the question was like, what makes you think I'm in marketing? I'm like, well, everyone is. Really, like the shoes you wear, the haircut you have, the glasses we choose, these are all marketing decisions about our own personal brands. So all of us are in marketing. I'm trying to think about, I was talking to a friend yesterday and he said something to me I'll have to remember it in a minute. And I was like, man, that's such good advice. And everybody knows it and we forget about it. But let me think about, might be a throwaway answer. Let me think, what's the best marketing advice I've received from someone that wasn't necessarily in marketing? That's I think I needed to have a day to think about that question.
That's okay. Send me an email. Shoot me an email.
I might have to come back. I might have to come back to that question.
No worries. Or if you think about it later, interrupt and go, okay, that. I just always think it makes me so curious because I remember talking to a podcast guest in the past. I don't know if you know about her, but her name is Melissa Rosenthal. She was previously with ClickUp and she's also with BuzzFeed at the height of its boom in the 2010s. And she is full of just inspiration from outside of marketing that go into marketing. And it's so fun. Like she'll like a celebrity and she'll just track how they came to fame kind of thing and like what worked in marketing for that specific person and kind of implement in her day-to-day. And I thought that was so interesting because you're right, everyone is involved in marketing, especially celebrities because like, they have to market themselves. But I loved hearing all these like little tidbits that she was telling me about what she learned from just this random, person that she's fond of.
Well, I would say there's two people that I read a lot from. One's Charles Duhigg, he's got some really interesting stuff and he's not a marketing person. But I would go back to Atomic Habits probably to say that habits are not something that's sort of like, as humans, we're very habitual, right? Like the things that we do, the choices that we make are all based on habits in a lot of cases, and sometimes bad habits more often than not. And so changing habits is not something that happens overnight. And so it's, you've heard the whole, like, eat the elephant one bite at a time, type of a thing. But one of the things I really love is maybe habit stacking. And habit stacking is where you start with one very small thing that takes you less than 2 minutes to do. And then you stack on top of that. So the first thing might be like people say they want to get up in the morning at 5 a.m. and they want to go and, work out. Well, why don't you just start by getting up first? Let's not try to become, a marathoner in a day. And then the next thing is you put your clothes on. For the first week, you're getting up. For the second week, you're just getting dressed. And then maybe you go outside for a 5-minute walk. And then you come back, right? So you're stacking your way up to it. And honestly, I think in marketing, it's a lot of that too. Like, especially as an agency, one of the things that we all like to try to do is come in and like wave this magic wand and make all these magical things happen for people all at once. And these companies didn't get to where they are all at once in terms of how their marketing is. And it takes time, and it takes you got to take one piece and you have to kind of build off of it. You got to build a foundation to create from. We don't have a switch that we turn on that magically makes it rain leads or revenue, even though people think we have those. And we'll have that conversation a lot with clients. I'm like, look, if I had the switch, you'd be paying me for this conversation.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be a situation where I was, offering to like.
Yeah, we could guarantee it.
That's
So
right.
if you can guarantee something, then you can guarantee being paid for that something.
That's right. And so I think the thing we do have to all realize is that it's a process, and that marketing's a hypothesis. Is that we're saying, based on the information that I have now, this is what I believe that we should do, but we really need to test it and then see how that turns out, and then, make a change, optimize based on that. And it's just, you're stacking those things together. And so maybe that's the marketing advice that I got from a non-marketing person.
That's really good advice in general and for marketing. I think that, humans are creatures of habit, but it's so difficult to form a new one or break an old one. I think I don't think people recognize that enough, and don't even realize that they're doing certain things or that they're a habit. It's just
for sure. I think every marketer should be, we should study human nature. We almost should be a part psychologist. Understanding human bias. One of my favorite things that I recently I kind of came across, I did it on, I was doing research for what we were doing. and I learned about what's called the mere exposure effect. And it's not, this isn't like groundbreaking, like, oh, we never knew this existed. But I love telling this story this way. It's very interesting. So we as humans are evolutionarily programmed to lean towards what's familiar to us. And this is like our social interactions, our buying choices. It helps to promote like cognitive ease, because that we're lazy that way. We like to believe in something so we don't have to think about it. And this is the analogy that I like to give people, which is if you have children and you want to go out for the evening and you have two choices. The first choice is the teenager down the street. And the second choice is an elementary school educator that spent 10 years as a nanny and speaks 3 languages and knows CPR. Now, here's the deal. You've known the teenager for 10 years. You've never met this person before. Who did you choose to watch your children for the next 5 hours?
The teenager.
The really unqualified. This is the most prized thing in your entire life. And you're choosing the least qualified person just because you've met them before. This is how irrational it is, right? But that applies to everything that we do. That's why referrals are so powerful. That's why that we make this, because we don't want to think about them. And so if we were to apply more psychology, and so how do I become more familiar with someone, so that when they do make a choice, they make me as the choice as opposed to any of my competitors, and how do you become more likable, and how do you become more familiar to them, and how do you become, it's something where they just go, that's the one I want. I don't want to have to do math on it. I don't care what it costs. I'll just do that one.
Yeah, no, I think psychology plays such a huge role in marketing, and I think a lot of people don't consider that at all. Which is so interesting. It's because you're dealing with humans, so naturally psychology is involved, especially when you're trying to convince them of something. Marketing is ultimately like a persuasive essay, like, but not an essay. You are trying to persuade something to want something and to a level. And in order to want someone to want something, you need to cater to what they are as humans. And I think there's so many things that people don't consider when they do that, especially a lot of people are not thinking of their audience sometimes. They're just thinking of themselves because it's hard to get out of your own head. And, um, you know what your audience is as someone who's trying to market a product or a service, but you don't, when you look at something so much and you're trying to perfect it for such a long period of time, I think a lot of people miss the mark on realizing that it's not for them because they're giving it to other people. And I think psychology plays into that as well. It's so extensive and vast of how much psychology is involved in every profession, I suppose, but marketing is the biggest one, I think.
Yeah. No, it's I actually like what you said. You said it's not an essay. I think it is, right? Because in an essay, you have to build your case. And it's not just, you don't just say something out loud and all of a sudden people go, yeah, I totally believe that. Because there's all these biases we have. We've got anchoring bias and survivorship bias, and there's a lot of things that as humans that you have to kind of, maybe sometimes you have to unwind something in order to move it in the direction that you kind of want it to be. And that's what makes it fun. Like it's a puzzle. And if it were as easy as, you just say, here, just write this check and I'll magically make everything appear, then everyone could do it. But that's not the case.
So, okay, we have rambled, and I would like to ask you a specific question, even though I like rambling. Don't worry about that. That's what makes it a nice little chat. But so your agency seems to be very focused on communication style. How do you think yours is different from your other average market agency? Like, why do you think that you can use this, the phrase that you use is conversational marketing, which is unique, I've seen. So it's interesting to me.
Yep. That's a fantastic question. And I'm glad you asked.
So,
if you were
love
to
the setup.
if you were to look up conversational marketing, it's defined currently as like chatbots, right? Interactions with web agents, and that's not a conversation. And so we're taking it back. Mm-hmm. It's real conversational marketing. I actually had an interaction with ChatGPT about this, which I eventually coerced it into admitting that yes, without humans, that it is not, human to human interaction. It's not really a conversation. And so what makes it really different is that we're not prioritizing the design. We're not prioritizing the content. We're prioritizing the people. This is very much a human first approach to it. And I have not found anyone that does what we do the way that we do it. There are people, there's obviously podcasting and there's video casts and there's things like this, but in the way that we have structured the process and how we build on the layers of clients and the interviews that we help create for them, it's really very unique. So we kind of are the world's first and only real conversational marketing agency.
That's really cool. And I really like the involvement of podcasting for stuff like this. I think that having a conversation with someone is so genuine, and it's very, I wish that it was used more in the agency space, but I feel like it's not. I know obviously a level of communication is necessary for any process involving an agency, but I feel like it's not prioritized in the way that it's human-centered. And I really like knowing that, you guys are out there and doing that. Because I don't know, that's my favorite thing about the podcast is getting to know someone and learning about them and learning from them. And I feel that, and also I've said this before, I think on this podcast, that I think agencies aren't very keen on sharing a lot of the time because they got secrets and they don't want people to know their secrets. But I feel like if people know your secrets and they can do exactly what you can do, then maybe you're not doing it good enough.
Well, so one of the things about how we got here is that for a lot of agencies and, when you're building a business in general, the advice that you'll get is to be specialized, right? You're focusing on a particular customer with a particular problem so that you're the best at being able to solve that.
Yes.
And I've done that in the past, working for automotive agencies that just focused on automotive. And quite frankly, it gets really boring because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And what ends up happening in a lot of cases is that you're trying to scale something to a point to where that it's not actually beneficial anymore. So the more you try to scale something, the more you have to take out of it, the more customization that has to come out of the thing to do it for too many people because they have all these different intricacies to them. And so, one of the things we really wanted to do was focus on building something that could still have some scalability to it, but was still hyper personalized to people. And so the way we looked at it was like, okay, I don't want to just focus on, say, dentists, right? I just don't want to be the dentist marketing agency. But you can't do everything for everyone all the time, right? You can't go in and go, let's do a whole custom plan for you. That's this website and a logo and a brand and all these other things. It's really hard to build a business around that because you're reinventing yourself with every single client, right? That becomes a really difficult thing to do. But we found that by creating a process that was focused on our clients' expertise. So what's your unique experience and what's your unique expertise and the people that you hope to serve and how are you helping to kind of solve their problems and your empathy to solve those problems? Like that's a very unique thing. It's very anti-chat GPT in a lot of ways, because AI is, right? It's the regression to the mean. It's just taking the average of the internet and giving it to you. And that was something we were trying to get away from as well. We were writing all these blog posts for people and we were getting a bunch of AI content. I'm like, now we're just doing what everybody else is doing and it's not helping people.
Yeah.
So we really found that we could be, by being hyper focused in creating conversations with our clients, that was our uniqueness. And look, basically what we did is we just created a different recipe. We took all the ingredients that everybody else has access to, and we're just putting it together in a different way. Could someone else figure out how to do it and do it? Yes. And I'm happy to talk to anyone about it, right? Because it's like, I don't mind if you learn about it. If you learn about it, you're going to tell somebody else about it, and it just creates more groundswell. So
yeah, it's cool. More people treating people well. I'm not going to complain about that.
That's right. I'm totally up for it. But I do know that we're the only agency that I'm aware of that 100% focuses on this and the way that we do.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I think that it's kind of nice that you've found a niche in a way that's different than how other people find their niches. You found your niche in the customer base that isn't a industry. You found it in the way that you handle customers, which is really nice because it is nice. It's like I talked to a bunch of people about niching down. It's a topic that obviously comes up with agencies a lot because some people have different opinions on it. I have heard before the opinion that you say is that you said was that it can get boring. It can get boring if you niche down, unless you really like doing that, which is, there are a lot of people that really like the industry that they choose and that's why they choose it. And that's great. And I think that's wonderful. And I don't really know how I stand on it. I don't think that I have a lot of knowledge from many people that have talked about it, but I don't think me personally, as I have not founded an agency, I do not know I don't know what my opinion on it is, but I do know everything that I hear, and there's a lot of different variations of what everyone personally likes. And yeah, it's if you have fun with what you do every day, and whether it's niching down or not, I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
And I'm not, believe me, I'm not poo-pooing anybody else's
I didn't think so.
idea of wanting to be a, dental marketing company. Like that wasn't the thing. I see problems and I like to solve them. Like that to me is a fun thing to do. If someone goes, "Hey, I've got this thing that I need help with," I'm like, "Oh, start
Let me do that.
Unsolicited. Let me solve this problem for you."
It's like a cartoon character flying towards a pie, when they smell it.
Yeah. And that to me is like, that's the thing that's fun to me. And I mean, optimism really is oxygen for me. Like I like to get really excited about, "Oh, I think we can do this together. Like this would be really fun and I can help us get there." And I feel very lucky and very blessed to have found what I believe to be a solution for a lot of people in that way. So like if it's a nonprofit or it's a, financial services company or it's a bank or if it's a, HVAC company, like we can apply it to all of them and be able to help them, get to where they want to be. So that to me is really the fun part, that I know that what I'm doing is actually helping people. And I like falling asleep really fast at night, and that helps.
Wow. Well, okay, that's a really great note to end on because this is all the time we have today. So that was very wholesome. This is my favorite thing to end on. That's great. Thank you so much. And yeah, I really, really appreciate having his human-centered approach again. This podcast is lovely because I get to talk a lot of different people, but definitely my favorites would be people that are in the business of helping people. And the corporate world isn't always full of that. So it's really nice when you see it because, it's nice when people are caring about people because I think one step at a time, changing the world,
1% better every day.
Exactly. And that's the best part. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for adding such wholesome content to the podcast. Thank you so much. And for everyone watching or listening, don't forget to like and subscribe to hopefully see more wholesome content as we change the world one day at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.